Hello, everyone. What is hip hop happening? This is your GG replay for Friday, July 16th. We made it to the end of the week. What a day. This show is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast breaking down the latest in gaming news, hosted by the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for goofs. Still kind of workshopping the slogan there. I am Paul, and I am joined, as always, by Matt. How are you doing today? How is this beautiful Friday treating you? You're ready for the weekend? I don't know how one can be ready, but
Paul, I'm always ready for the weekend. I'm ready for the weekend on Mondays, on
yes, I
Tuesdays,
do.
on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, and on Fridays. And to be quite honest, I'm ready for the weekend on Sundays as well. So, uh,
Saturdays, I'm also ready, but for the next one.
yeah.
Mm,
Well, Saturdays I try to live in the moment.
I don't. I'm always ready
I
for the
try.
next
I
weekend.
try.
Anticipatory life.
But yeah, you could say I'm ready.
You could say I'm very ready. My body is ready, in the words of Reggie.
Yeah.
Perfect. But my mind is already in Saturday.
You know what? Speaking of
Yep.
which,
hmm
we mentioned this on Game Groups yesterday. I said Jim Ryan is not doing what Phil Spencer is doing. Like Phil Spencer's doing a really good
Yeah.
job in that public facing role.
hmm
Sony, go grab Reggie.
Yeah, Poach Reggie. He's, I assume, retired now, right? That's kind of the
Oh,
ish.
I'm sure he's just hanging out, doing some consulting, getting paid a lot to
Yeah,
just
like I thought
talk
he
to
moved to.
people.
I don't think he moved to a different role, right? He's just like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Or you know what, Poach Bowser, because that would really shake things up for Nintendo. Those are our hot takes for today. See you next week. No. Yeah, to get into the show a little bit here, we always start going through corrections from the previous show. This week we have none, but if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. Moving on, the reviews are in. Streets of Rage for Mr. X Nightmare. Um, or maybe it's Roman numerals, Mr. 10 Nightmare. I don't
I
think
actually
so.
don't know.
I doubt it. Arcade brawler game is got an 87 on OpenCritic. So that's pretty awesome. I never really played Streets of Rage, but I'm well aware of the franchise. Looks like a lot of fun. I honestly didn't know they were making new Streets of Rage, so that there goes my cred. Uh, but wow, that's a great score.
It's a beloved franchise, going
hmm
all the way back to the arcade and stuff like that. I used to like arcade brawlers when I was growing
Yeah.
up. I just kind of, I guess, naturally just grew out of the genre. I
hmm
know I just didn't have the nostalgia for it. But like there are people, people grew up in
Yeah.
the 80s and stuff like that. I know they
Yeah.
really do have a nostalgia for this kind of game. I just don't. But an
Yeah.
87 on OpenCritic, it's doing pretty well. So I'm really happy
Incredible.
for the people who are looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Always cool. Let's move right into our big stories for the day because we have a lot of them. We did cover a lot of the stuff on Game Groups this week too. Some of the biggest ones, our top stories today. So, if you are a patron of ours, you can get Game Groups today, which is awesome. Friday, and if you're not, consider subscribing and getting in there. But if not, Game Groups is going to come out on Sunday morning. So if you want to hear some more in-depth discussion on this in a roundtable fashion, we'll be getting into it on Game Groups. But for now, let's talk about it. Steam Pal is real. Your best friend, Steam Pal, is real, and Valve is calling it the Steam Deck. I think we've all kind of seen this story. I mean, we could basically put it to you this way. Nintendo came out, said, hey, you want a Switch Pro? Well, here's the OLED Switch. And Steam came out and they said, oh, well, if you want the Switch Pro, here it is. Uh, I mean, we can go through really quick. It's got a 7-inch IPS LED screen. It has, some of the same kind of architecture we're seeing in modern gaming consoles, RDNA 2, AMT Zen 2 architecture. We're seeing some pretty great stuff in here. Now, mind you, it's lower powered. We're putting out like 2 teraflops, something more considerable to like the PS4, Xbox One. But we also have to consider that this is running new architecture, even though the power is a little bit lower. So this thing is, supposedly able to run AAA games at like, somewhere around 30 FPS, 720p resolution. It's actually 1200 by 800, something like that. 12. So, but 720p is the target. And I don't know. It looks pretty cool. It looks like if Steam came out and they said, "Hey, you know, it would be a good competitor for the Switch, a modern Game Gear." And that's kind of what it looks like. If anyone remembers the Sega Game Gear, and you know, Matt, what do you think? I know we have a bit differing opinions on this, so I'd love to get your take.
Well, I want one, but I don't want to pay for one. um, I I'm
Sorry, we should mention now the pricing starts at 399 for 64 gigs, 529 I think for 256, and then 629 for 512 I believe.
I think that I think that you're getting pretty good bang for the buck for the two top tiers. I just don't think that $400 one is worth the price. And I know, like you were saying on Game Groups, how Gabe like really wanted that first option that started with the three, and that it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
painful
yeah.
for them to make it happen, but they made it happen. And I think they probably just shouldn't have made it happen. I
Mm,
don't. I guess so. The fact that they did make sure they made this happen. That is also so we have a big discussion on the game groups. I think that
yeah.
this is more of a direct competition against Nintendo's Switch
Hmm.
than Mike and Paul did. But I think that the fact that he's like
I'm
we
starting
we
to come
need
to your side on that too. I want to be clear. I'm starting to come to your side a bit more on that. The more I see them market it.
the fact that he's like we need a three on the front of this. That also just tells me like yeah he wants to get into that market a little bit more
Yeah,
because
agreed.
if not like they have their what's their VR called? What is it?
The index.
Yeah, the index. So they have the index, like that's a luxury product. This
Yeah,
could have been a luxury product, and the higher end is, but they wanted that three, and they got that three, and I wouldn't buy that version if I was gonna go all out for this, but
no.
they have it available, and
I think that three. I think that low version is for the people that you're talking about, the people who might want it from a Switch. I think that's what that 399 is for. It's for people who want to play Dead Cells, Stardew Valley. You know, maybe they want to try to play light, fun, cartoony games on the go. On their train ride, that's what 399 is for, and I think 64 gigs is just enough for that. And also, you can put an SD card in there. Easy, you could buy like a 256 gig XD card for 600 for like $60 or something. That's pretty tempting. I mean, obviously they're not quite as fast as a traditional hard drive, but not far off when you're looking at playing pretty low intensity titles. So if it's really a casual gaming machine, 399 is not bad, and it's still more powerful than a Switch at that level, which is interesting. So if they can cleverly get games that kind of target it like if they go like here's good games for your Steam Deck and they kind of target like first party kind of like feeling things that feel like a Mario or a Zelda, that could really sell a system. But it's tough when you're looking at either on PC there's a lot of either casual games or like AAA games, and I feel like there's not a lot of like AAA but smooth like Mario and like Zelda that are kind of pushed for 720p. So it's interesting to see if they'll do anything for that 399 segment that's going to target that.
I know that the Switch install base is massive, but I have to wonder if this does sell well, if the Steam Deck does sell well, are we going to see fewer of these small indie devs porting their PC games to a console for the Switch when they could just
Yeah.
when the Steam Deck is now a thing? Because I know that for some games it can be a massive undertaking to port them from that PC version
Hmm.
to specifically the Switch. So would we see less of that? So all of those ports that are going from Steam to the Switch right now, would
Yep.
those start to dwindle away? I don't know. I think
I don't know.
some of them would.
I saw someone say on Reddit, and I think this is a very valid point. They were saying I have look at how expensive Switch games are. They never get cheaper. Even like non even third party titles stay very
Yeah.
expensive. And I see people saying, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking of buying the 6.4. Thinking of buying the high end Steam Deck because I already have like $640 worth of PC third party games that I would have wanted to play on my Switch,
Yeah.
in my Steam library. So like it's better. And then like I was gonna buy a Switch, but instead of buying a Switch and rebuying all the games, I'll just buy a Steam Deck. I think I think initially I kind of came out of this thinking there's not going to be a big install base, but I like it, and I'm starting to feel like there is growing demand for this, and if they are smart with how they sell it, and I think Mike mentioned this in Game Grooves, if they expand beyond just selling it in the Steam, in the Valve store, or if they do, I think there's a way that they could really do something with this, but time will tell. Valve has not, typically had huge, massive hardware success, so we'll
I
have to see.
I gotta say on Game Grooves, I estimated 4.5 million lifetime units sold, and today seeing the reaction on
Hmm.
Twitter and Reddit, I'm like, I think that might have been a little low actually, and I
Hmm.
thought I was being bullish on it.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm thinking this could go up to like 10 mil. Like people
I
are
know. I
excited
think
about
4
this
is a
thing.
really safe average number, and I think it will. It may, if we're seeing what we're seeing, that's probably where it's going to shake out to. But I think it could surprise and jump higher. I think you're right. This could rival consoles. It's very interesting.
We're,
We're gonna have to see. We just don't know how it's really going to run and how smooth it's going to be and
mhm.
how seamless an experience it's going to be. But when you look at things like the Switch and all the things that the Switch doesn't have, this has them. This has everything that you'd want on the Switch but don't have, except Mario and
You're right.
Zelda. And slightly cheaper pricing, but even then, the OLED Switch 7-inch, $350 now. This is $50 more for the baseline. And like, let's be honest. I mean, the games are bigger on PC often, but if you're looking to play casual games or some fun games that aren't crazy,
If you're
64
playing the
gigs
games
is
you would have played on Switch anyway, yeah, it's the
64
same.
gigs is the same storage that the Switch comes with, same kind of hard drive, and it's expandable with any SD card you want. So it's really competitive. One last thing I'll say too is that this thing is running SteamOS, which is basically just a skin on Linux. And you can get in there, run Linux. You can install Windows on it. Now they've said like, I mean, running Windows on it probably won't be the most efficient way to get something out of it, but honestly, running Linux is pretty sweet. I saw some people talking about there's like now I'm not an expert on this, but there's a CEMU, C emulator or something, some kind of way to run Breath of the Wild, and a lot of people are saying they're running it on Linux
Wow.
on PC right now, and it's getting like better frame rates than you get Breath of the Wild on Twitch on 1080p. So they're saying like if you can upload, you can use that on the Steam Deck and emulate Breath of the Wild at better frame rates than you'll get on the Switch. And you can get like RetroArch and all kinds of other emulators that will play all of the old school Nintendo games that Nintendo won't even emulate anymore.
That sounds
So
complicated to me.
now it is a bit. It's not crazy complicated, but if you're someone who remotely wants to do this stuff and you already have ever flirted with emulation, there's people who are going to do that, and a lot of the retro gamers are people who wouldn't blush at doing some emulation. So it's interesting.
I think word of mouth is going to be massive. Like once these get out in the wild, people reporting either that it works great
Hmm.
or is not what they thought it would be. Like either way,
Yeah,
it's gonna really dictate how this thing goes.
absolutely. Yeah, moving on to something a little less exciting, but definitely still nonetheless talked about quite a lot. Netflix plans to expand into video games full steam ahead in earnest, as they say, in the next year. So at this point, we've been having a lot of rumors about Netflix getting into games. Of course, they got into things like Bandersnatch, Minecraft story mode, all that kind of stuff. So there's been Netflix attempts at kind of streaming gaming, but they have hired Mike Verdu, formerly of Oculus, EA, and Zynga, as the VP of game development. So this guy's actually a vice president of game development, which is pretty wild. That's a pretty big jump. And yeah, they're getting into gaming. So far, they've said that they don't plan to charge any extra for the games. It'll just be part of the streaming service. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Matt? I mean, we got into this on Game Grooves a little bit. I'll just say really quick. I feel like this is really kid centered. I'm feeling this is going to be. We look at Zynga, we look at Oculus, we look at that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be really casual games, just for keeping your eyes on Netflix. But what are you thinking over here?
No, I agree. I think they're going for the Fortnite kids. Like that's
Yeah.
specifically who they're going for with this. Um, I don't know. The thing with that is like Fortnite was kind of it's special. You can't just replicate that.
Yeah.
And if you're Netflix, like your thing has to like be cool for those kids.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just never gonna work. And I don't know what that means exactly. I'm glad I'm not put in charge of this because I wouldn't know where to start on that. Like you said, this is for the kids. This is for the Fortnite kids.
See, so
Um,
I'll say too, I don't feel like this is for the Fortnite kids. I think the Fortnite kids are a lost cause for them. Fortnite's way too
Maybe
cool.
the next generation then.
I think it's for younger kids. I think this is targeting kids who are like, preschool kids you put in front of your Netflix to watch a cartoon where they don't even speak words. I think that's really what we're gonna get. Real simple, real colorful, real simple games. That's what I'm thinking in terms of this, I'll say.
I agree with that, and I think that whatever the case may be, and if
Hmm.
that's not the case, if they are
Yeah.
targeting a larger overall gaming audience, whatever the case is, they have to prove it first. Like I do not believe that this is going to work until it actually works. So
Agreed.
they're going to have to prove it. If it's exclusively streaming games, then they're definitely going to have to prove it. But Netflix has 207 million subscribers, so if they
Yeah.
can figure it out, then yeah, they're going to have a lot of eyeballs on this.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I think we have to see what they're actually going to do with it. I'm not holding my breath for anything fantastic, but prove me wrong. Verdue, come out with something incredible.
Yeah, Verdue.
Why don't you
Verdue
Verdue
it.
something about it?
Yeah. We don't want to at the end of this to say you verdidn't.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
that'll be on your LinkedIn.
I
Mike Verdue Verdidn't.
Ivor didn't make gaming happen for Netflix. Or Ivor
All
did.
right.
Maybe he
Yeah,
did.
or ever did. He verdid. And he's verdone now.
Yeah,
Uh
Ver retired.
Versailles. And then one day he'll be Verded, but long after a long healthy career.
may
So
he
we'll all be Verded eventually.
may he rest
Um
in ver peace.
yeah, okay. So we were already talking about it. Flowing these stories, really, really, really flowing them through here nicely. Steam Deck, we talked about it. Let's go back to talking a little bit about the Switch because we had a Reddit article I saw today on our games come out. People were saying the Switch is now just over a month older than the Wii U was when it was replaced by the Switch. So we're at the same point in the lifespan where they went, okay, we got to get something new. It's out. This thing's trash. Let's talk about it. How do these consoles compare between life cycles? I mean, a big thing people were pointing out: better online community on the Wii U. Better, there was free online play on the Wii U. There were better virtual console. There was better, older games on there. So there's a lot they did on Wii U that the Switch never. Oh, there was a browser. There was Netflix stuff that still is not on the Switch 4 years. Almost 4 years later. So there's a lot on Wii U that they did. I mean, Wii U obviously I mean, really a failure probably in the grand scheme of sales
Absolutely.
and being a lasting console. But I think there were a lot of people, and myself included, who owned a Wii U and never bought a Switch. I will say there was a lot of nice, interesting things that if you didn't own a Wii U, you kind of missed out on. Nice kind of evolutions from the Wii. It was a cool evolution from the Wii, and it did work its way toward the Switch was becoming, but didn't quite get there. And then I think they nailed the hardware with the Switch, but they never quite caught back up to the software of the Wii U. And I don't know. We're at the same point in time here, 4 years in. What do you think, Matt? Do you think we're ever going to get some of these Wii U things back on the Switch, or does Nintendo not care anymore about that kind of stuff?
Well, this isn't news, but I'll allow it. I'll allow this discussion. So here's the way that I see it. The Wii U had better services and better software. The Switch is by far a better console. It has sold a ton, so Nintendo doesn't see a need to push their software and push good services to help it out. I guess they saw with Wii U, they're like, we need all these extra services with online, and I think Wii U had Netflix. Maybe did Wii U have
Yeah,
Netflix? Switch still doesn't have Netflix,
Wii U had Netflix. Yep,
so they're just like
had a browser. It had Netflix. Yeah,
we have to put the stuff on here to help sell it. The Switch is
yeah,
selling, so they just aren't even bothering, I guess. The Wii U had a ton of good games, as evidenced by the fact that
great games.
they're all being ported to the Switch.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what the Switch's software is. It's Breath of the
yeah.
Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and Wii U ports.
Wii U ports. Mario Kart 8 and Smash Brothers Ultimate is basically just a beefed up Smash Brothers for Wii U. I mean, it's
Yeah, the Mario Kart that has sold so many copies on the Switch is literally just the Wii U
yeah,
full package. I
yeah.
know they added some like
They added a
maps
few
from
things.
some of the other versions and stuff like that,
Yeah,
tracks or whatever, but
yeah,
still, like, these are Wii U ports that they're
yeah.
bringing to the Switch because the software was better on the Wii U.
It was
And
great.
by the way, Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game.
Yeah,
So,
and it came out on Wii U. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So, yeah, I think the Switch is obviously the superior console, but Nintendo is lagging behind in every other possible category.
every other category they've turned their back on so many things that the Wii U had, and it really comes to a head when you look at that. When you look at 4 years in, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point they're never going to go back and probably do this stuff. I mean, they're never going to probably. What's the point in putting Netflix in now or a browser in now? No one seems to care. They're selling off the shelves 100 million because people love the form factor, and and they love Mario and Zelda, and that's it. That's all they need. And I think that's kind of the story of Nintendo in 2021 is that Nintendo is doing what works for them and not a lick more.
Maybe now with the Steam Deck, they'll see a reason to go
Maybe.
do the stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think like, and I said this on one of the other GG replays, I think, or Game Groups or something. I don't think we're getting a Switch Pro at this point with the
Yeah.
OLED model coming. I don't think
Yeah.
we're getting a Switch Pro. I think at some point we'll get a Switch 2 or some
Give
new.
me the date. What do you think? Switch 2. When do you think we're gonna get a Switch 2 ballpark guess?
Well, that's the thing. It's either a Switch 2 or it's a
Oh, that's the
console
thing.
where they just got too cute and it's gonna not be the hit that Switch was. But I'll
Are we
give you
gonna
a
get
date.
a middle console that doesn't
I'll give you a
quite bridge the
date.
gap? Yeah.
Holiday 2025.
Wow, it's soon. Okay.
Holiday
It's not soon, but I
2025.
think that's
Maybe
yeah,
I was gonna
interesting.
say 24, but you know what? Because of the Steam Deck, I'm gonna say
I think
spring 2024. Spring. Put it on the fridge. Spring
okay, I like
2024. We're
that.
getting a new
I'm thinking
Nintendo
more spring
console.
25, but I'm with you. I think we're in that range though. I think 2024, 2025 we're gonna see a console. I think they have to compete, especially now. Well, it really depends on how great Steam Deck goes. We hope, we pray.
And if Steam Deck does well, is Nintendo going to say, okay, well, now for our next console, we don't want to go up against that, so we're going to do something totally different? You
Right.
can't predict what Nintendo's going to do, and
Yeah.
that is a great thing and a terrible thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of what is going to happen with Nintendo in the future, let's talk about what might happen with Microsoft and PlayStation in the future. Phil Spencer got some heat this week, complimenting, and he tweeted a compliment to DualSense. Said, "Hey, the DualSense controller is great. Maybe we could take some of these things on the Xbox and we could update our own controller. This is Phil Spencer in a nutshell. I said it on this week's Game Grooves. Phil Spencer, in his mind, is playing a totally different game, I think, than PlayStation and Nintendo, especially PlayStation. I think Nintendo's already kind of also playing their own game, and I think he's very comfortable going out there and saying things like, "Hey, the DualSense is better," basically, because
It
at this
is.
point he doesn't care. He wants for him, sure he wants to sell Xboxes, but I think ultimately he wants to sell Game Pass and the ecosystem. And at this point, I'm sure if Phil Spencer could get you to play Xbox, quote unquote, on any hardware, he'd be doing it. So yeah, what do you think, Matt? I mean, just more of the same Phil Spencer, or maybe we're gonna get? Is this a hint? Are we gonna get the DualSense on Xbox? What do you think?
I don't know. Like, I don't think we're getting the DualSense on Xbox. I think
No.
they'll have their own controller.
Yeah.
And I think they'll do a good job with it. But as of right now, the DualSense is the best controller, and
Far and away.
it's half the reason to get a PlayStation 5.
Yep.
It's
Which
it's amazing.
doesn't necessarily say much about the PlayStation 5, I'll be honest, when you say that half of it's the controller. I mean,
Well, when you look at so in the broad scheme of things, when you look at this generation, it wasn't the graphical jump that we have had in the past. So what do you get? You get the higher frame rate. You get
loading times
the
is a
loading times.
big
You get the controller that is
hmm
honest. Like the DualSense adds to the experience just
Yeah.
as much as anything else. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love the DualSense. It's
Yeah.
fantastic, and I can't wait to find, or I can't wait to have developers find new ways of using it. Phil Spencer is playing nice here, like he always does. We're
Yeah.
not going to see DualSense compatible with
No.
the Xbox, but yeah, they'll have their own controller. I don't know if it'll be as
Yeah.
good because I think a lot of this stuff that Sony did
Patents.
was, yeah, highly patented.
Well,
So
because
I don't
that's what I
know.
was going to say, and I've been talking about this since DualSense first got mentioned, and then obviously once the actual reviews came out and people were really playing Astro's Playroom, or that's the one where you can really
Yeah,
mess with the
it's so good.
Astro's Playroom, and that's when I started to realize that it's different. But I remember the Xbox One made a big deal about their vibrating triggers. They had rumble triggers.
Yeah,
They were pretty good. Now they didn't have the thing where you could really feel the tension, which I think is the one of the biggest things. But even the haptics on the PlayStation 5 controller, just feeling the rain and things like that,
it's wild.
clearly feel better too. So it's not just the trigger thing. But that being said, I always thought it was cool that that was an Xbox One feature, and I thought that was cooler than the DualShock 4. But now moving forward with the the DualSense controller, I mean, we not only get to keep the touchpad, but we also get all of these DualSense features. It's pretty cool. It's hard to argue that it's not a better feature set. I mean, it'd be stupid. I guess it'd also be stupid to do what Phil did now. But I mean, based on what we know about Phil, I mean, it's pretty fair to just come out and be like, "Hey, listen, like, it's clearly the better controller. If you guys want that, we'll work on it." I think it's awesome. Cool. I mean, Microsoft has a bad track record with controllers in the sense that, like, right now, the Xbox Series controller, whatever you want to call it, is only like $10 cheaper in than the PS5 DualSense, and that is a supremely superior controller.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm shocked that the DualSense is as cheap as it is. It's
yeah,
$70, I think.
yeah, which is the same price I think in and around as the Dual Shock 4. So it's pretty crazy. And then also looking at Microsoft with the Xbox Elite controller, which had cool features, but ultimately has a abysmal failure rate. The thing breaks all the time. They're annoying about warranty repairs. It's a pain. I've known people with Elite controllers, and I've also seen the stats. It's pretty bad. It was a cool idea, but once again, not properly executed. And that thing is crazy expensive. So it's hard to imagine for me that they're going to come out, if they do come out with a DualSense kind of controller, that it's not going to be way more expensive than the PlayStation's DualSense, like a special option that you pay, because especially because it didn't come with the console. It seems unlikely to me it's not going to be a special option. Even when they come out with like an upgraded Series X or something in 4 years, they're probably still not going to bundle it with this DualSense controller that they might one day come out with. They're probably
Right.
still going to make it like the new version of the Elite controller or something. So I don't know. It's cool, but I think Sony nailed it with the DualSense, and I think as much as Phil's talking about it, I doubt that we'll get that in the normal Xbox controller for a long time.
And I'm not sure it's totally worth it for them considering the Xbox controller is the controller of PC gaming as well.
Yep.
So, and it's, you're not going to have all the same features in a PC game because they're not
Right.
necessarily made for a controller.
Even now we're seeing that like a lot of PlayStation 5 devs aren't taking advantage of the DualSense. So I mean,
Right.
it may like Sony went in on the gambit and it's great, but I don't know if at this point it's worth it for Microsoft
Well, it's going to be
when they didn't go all in from the start.
for mostly first party games. The third party stuff is going to probably be half-assed or patched in later, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, but I like that the evolution of controllers is becoming a thing with new console generations now that they're
Yeah.
actually that they understand that that's important. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I think Xbox will eventually do something. I think, but
Yeah.
I don't think it'll go quite as far as the DualSense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Makes dual
Moving on.
sense.
Makes dual sense. I love that. Speaking of Sony and the dual sense and games we're excited for, God of War, that was a great game. Hoping that's going to take a lot of good advantages of the dual sense. Imagining the Leviathan axe with the dual sense feeling. Oh, that brings music to my ears. And one of the best parts about that game was the voice of Kratos in the God of War reboot, Christopher
Boy,
Judge. What'd you say? Oh boy,
boy,
boy. And we all love Christopher Judge in that game. He was fantastic. And now he is set to play T'Challa in Marvel's Avengers Wakanda expansion. So, I mean, we all know the Marvel Avengers game. I think we all have pretty similar middling opinions on it. I think I've seen very few people extremely bullish on the game, but it clearly is selling, and they are making this Avengers Wakanda expansion. This looks to be one of the bigger. It's not just DLC; it really is a full expansion. It's going to really take advantage of that kind of moniker. So looks pretty cool. Now, the big news about this story is, of course, that Judge is even going to be playing T'Challa. There's a lot of talk about not recasting Chadwick Boseman in the MCU movies post his death. In that scenario, Judge actually made a big point of talking about how he didn't initially want to do the role because he felt uncomfortable about like recasting himself as T'Challa. But that kind of brings us into a little bit of a topic again about the Marvel Avengers game. I mean, does this really matter? I mean, these are knockoff MCU characters anyway. They certainly aren't necessarily the MCU actors. There's been no actor overlap. I mean, I guess are we just I assume Judge is just kind of being respectful in that scenario, but I mean, we see different actors play different characters across video games and TV shows all the time. I mean, it's a reimagining. So I mean,
Right.
I don't know. What do you think, Matt? Does that? I think it seems fine to me.
I think it's fine, but I feel like I need to bounce this back to you with a question because
Mhm.
I haven't seen Black Panther. I haven't seen the new
Yeah,
Marvel stuff. I haven't played Marvel's
yeah.
Avengers. So like I'm way out of the Marvel
Of
fandom.
course, of course.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, does this voice even make sense with this character?
I think so. I mean, again, it's a different kind of character, and I think it's cool to. I almost think it's cool to maybe do it a little bit different than Bozeman did it. I think all of these kind of weird knockoff voices kind of suck. They're just worse versions of the MCU versions. I would be really happy to see if Judge did a different take on T'Challa.
Like is it
I
going
mean,
to are we going to get like a super jacked version of
I don't think
T'Challa?
so. I think he's gonna look the same.
Like a
But
big
yeah,
buff
that would be
body
great.
like
Just Kratos in the
yeah.
the Black Panther outfit.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I don't think so. But he looks about normal in all the stuff we've seen. I think
Okay.
we've seen a lot of Black Panther in the teasers. We just haven't heard the
Oh,
voice.
okay.
So
Okay.
so he looks about normal. I guess it's just interesting to hear the voice. I don't think they actually said anything or had any audio from it quite yet, but. It'll be interesting to see if he takes a bit of a different take on it. I think that'd be cool. But also, I mean, the accent's iconic. I think Boseman did a great job. I mean, I think it's fine if he does that too. But I don't know. I get mixed feelings on recasting an actor who died. I think it's fine if they don't want to recast him in the MCU. But listen, it's a different game. It's a
Yeah.
different universe in the game. So I don't think there's any problem. I respect Judge for kind of getting in there and saying that, just because I know he doesn't want to feel disrespectful, especially when there's such a huge MCU fan base that really interact with Marvel in that way more than any other way. So
Well,
it's good for him
like
to reference that. But
I guess it's a weird thing for anyone to be upset about because even
right.
if Chadwick Boseman was still alive and playing this character, he wouldn't be voicing the character in the Avengers game anyway.
That's my main point, and so I feel like they were going to get a different voice anyway. I mean, again, I guess I think it'd be better, not that it'll be inappropriate or anything if he does an impression of Bozeman, basically. That's fine. He can do that. I think that's fine too, but it'd be cool if he did a different take. I mean, it just goes back to my deep-rooted feelings that they should have just gone completely different with the whole game and really played into a different version of Marvel. But what are you
I
going to
I
do?
think Judge is a talented voice actor,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's like I'm not actually expecting like it's literally just Kratos' voice. So
No, yeah, I think it'll be great. I'm probably not going to play it. I'll probably listen because I kind of want to see if he'll do the accent. I really like Boseman's Black Panther T'Challa accent, so I'm a sucker for that. So
I
yeah,
don't
I'll
even know what it
probably
sounds like.
I won't do it because I feel like that's inappropriate. But
Probably a good idea.
check out a clip of maybe like a quick clip of him talking as T'Challa. It's actually he does like a really cool made up accent he's got going on. It's very nice sounding to use. So
Is it just him or is it like the whole of the country?
the whole of the country
Oh,
has
okay.
has an accent, but he's just got a great voice, and it sounds good. So hopefully Judge kind of does that. It'll be a lot of fun. But anyway,
Is
yeah,
this is kind of on
yeah.
topic but off topic. Is Wakanda in the MCU an actual country or is it like a fantastical country that people like in the real world don't know about?
Both. It is an actual
Oh,
country, but In the real world, everyone thinks it's a poor, impoverished African nation.
Oh, okay. But they're
But
secretly
they
not.
because they have like magic bubbles around it,
Okay, I got you.
secretly they're like the richest, most powerful nation in the world because they have all the vibranium metal, and it
Okay.
allows them to do all this cool magic, future techno stuff. But at the end of, not a big spoiler, at the end of Black Panther, T'Challa like basically reveals to the world how rich they are and like wants to give back and like opens up the borders and stuff. So now everyone knows that it is what it is. But in general, it was a secret nation. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Pretty neat. Yeah, be cool. And finally, coming in with a little bit of Switch news, bashing on the Switch today, as I always seem to be doing. But kind of a cool thing coming out for the Switch. Pokemon Unite is the Pokemon MOBA is launching on July 21st. I think it's pretty darn cool. It's primarily targeted at playing on the go. I'll probably say, since it's coming out specifically for Switch and then mobile devices later in the fall, so like iOS and Android devices. And right now they're giving away a free Zeraora. I don't know how you'd say that. Zeraora Pokemon if you download the game before August 31st.
Oh shit.
So I think they're trying to get. I don't actually. I think it's from Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and it's like electric Pokemon. I was reading up on it. I'm not 100% up on the newest Pokemon, but it looks pretty darn cool, and it's cool to have like a free champ only for a certain amount of time. I think to get downloads and just to
Yeah.
get people to try the game out, especially because you see Pokemon MOBA and you probably think, oh, I'll check this out at some point. Be like, hey, come here and look now. I don't know. What do you think, Matt? I'm pretty open to MOBAs, especially more MOBAs from big companies. I think we're getting a lot of like kind of small company, small dev MOBAs a lot of the time, and we're not getting many more like Dota 2 or League. And I think it's cool to see the Pokemon company jump in and make a MOBA, especially because I think Pokemon are kind of tailored. There's so many different choices for champions that you can bring in and make some really different move sets.
Yeah, so I'm actually weirdly excited for this. I
Nice.
remember when it was announced in a Pokemon Direct, and people were, it was like the focus of the Direct, and so people were really pissed.
Of
Um,
course.
but I'm
Where's Breath
actually,
of the Wild 2? This is Pokemon Direct. Yeah.
well, they were hoping for new Pokemon news, I guess.
I know. Yeah,
Look, Pokemon fans, you're getting two Pokemon games within the next year. Okay, so
yeah.
um, yeah, I'm excited about this because I'm not the biggest MOBA fan, but I want to kind of like get into a casual MOBA.
Yeah.
And I know the Pokemon characters, so like I know what abilities they're going to have and stuff like that. And yeah, this just sounds interesting to me. Like, yeah, I just want to play a casual MOBA on my Switch. That sounds fun. I don't know.
Yeah. Seems really cool. And I've recently got into playing League of Legends Wild Rift, which is like their mobile version.
Right, right.
And a lot of fun. I actually like it a lot more, in some ways, more than PC League. It's just the games are shorter and it's more casual and they kind of like hold your hand a bit more through playing. And I think it'd be something you'd be into. But then again, I feel like there's a bit of a barrier between the characters and the world. And also, I also feel like, again, it's on mobile, but I don't think it's on Switch or something like that. And I think that really is like a really good mobile
Yeah.
console. I really feel like that's kind of tailor made for that. And so Pokemon Unite sounds awesome. I'm very excited to. They're going to have crossplay between mobile devices and Switch as well. So at some point in the fall, when we get it on mobile, I'll play on my Switch. We'll play
Yeah,
some Pokemon MOBA together.
yeah, I really like, that's the thing is I want a casual MOBA, but I don't want to play it on my phone.
Yeah,
And so like if you put it on the PC, then it's gonna get a little bit too sweaty for me.
yeah,
You have a MOBA on the Switch though. That seems like a good
just
place
right.
for a really casual MOBA environment that's not gonna get crazy sweaty and toxic. So yeah,
Exactly. That's how I feel. Mobile MOBAs are cool on iOS and Android, but the touch controls just aren't good enough for me. And I feel like the Switch is the perfect middle ground for that. And I think that's the ideal place for a MOBA. I
and it's
think it's really
Pokemon.
cool.
And I care about, so I care
Yeah,
about those characters and I actually know
yeah,
them. So
yeah. And
that,
they're
yeah.
adorable. So I
Of
mean, that's just
course.
fun.
Of
The cartoon,
course.
the animation style, it just looks like a lot of fun. I'm really excited. It won't get me to buy a Switch,
This
but
this is a free game,
eventually I'll
right?
play it. It's a free game.
It's a free.
Yep. Free to
Get your free
play.
Pokemon. Go download it.
Get your free Zeraora, download it on July
Comes out in
21st.
5 days.
Yeah, have some fun. Next Wednesday, you're going to be having a good time. It'll be our first Wednesday in 6 weeks where we did not get a new episode of Loki. To those of you out there, MCU fans, so to make yourself feel a little better that you're missing out on an MCU show, you can go download Pokemon and get a free Zeraora.
I'm seeing all these pictures of like Loki as different animals or something. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going
so
on.
I mean, not a big spoiler because it's everywhere, but Loki sees other Lokis in the multiverse, in the last one, they're breaking the multiverse open. And there's all these different Lokis, and I know this doesn't interest you, but they do it smoothly, and it actually is pretty good if you watch them all. But that being said, when you haven't watched them in like 10 years, it's very confusing. But the point is, one of the Lokis is an alligator Loki. He's just an alligator with the crown on, and it's very funny because often they'll like cut to the different Lokis, and then they'll cut to alligator Loki, and he's just sitting there. It's really great. And so anyway, the meme now is that different animals are Loki and blah. Anyway,
I
it's
don't know
a
how to react to that, Paul.
it's a highlight of the show. I almost Rachel can attest. I almost bought a little figurine, a 3D printed alligator Loki yesterday on Etsy, but I stopped myself.
Why do I have Disney Plus? Why do I
I
have it?
agree. Here's the thing: if you don't want to watch MCU shows at this point, Disney Plus is a waste of money. It's great for me because they've got me because they're just releasing them. Even worst case scenario, there's like 1 or 2 weeks between MCU shows since the start of this year, and I am just sucked in. But for you, I don't know.
You know why I
Maybe
have it?
for
It's part of that
Bad
bundle. It's
Batch.
part of the ESPN and Hulu bundle, so that's why I have it.
That's it. That's it.
All
You know
right.
what? Go watch some
I
things. Go watch
watched
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You'd like that.
you know what I did watch
What?
was you know why I like Disney Plus is because I have Nat Geo stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true.
What's that? What was that award-winning rock climbing documentary?
Oh, Free Solo.
Yeah, that was so
Yeah.
good, so
Yeah,
good.
really, really cool.
Highly
Alex
recommend
Honnold's
it.
awesome. Yeah, it's a really good doc for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, that's our ad for Disney Plus, and yeah, but I agree. If you're not watching Marvel shows, Disney Plus isn't really a great deal unless you want to watch old episodes of Disney's Recess. That's also pretty good on. But all right, well, that's it for gaming news today on the GG Replay and for this week. But hey, listen, stick around for a second because I got a couple things to tell you out there in the world. First off, we have a Patreon, and if you enjoy GG Replay and all of our other content on goodnightgroofs.com, that's right, we have a website, goodnightgroofs.com, like our other podcast, our flagship podcast, the Game Groofs, and our blog. When you're feeling generous, just take a look. Patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. We have a $1, $3, $5 tier. They all have lovely rewards. It's definitely worth a check. We already have a good couple Patreons, and we're growing every day. So we love it. We want to make more content for you. Anything you give us helps, and we love talking about this stuff. So if you like our personalities or our beautiful faces or mellifluent voices, throw us a buck.
help
Single.
us help you.
What I what I say on Game Groups? Single-dollar bills, y'all.
A
So
dollar
single.
bill, y'all.
Yeah, I just said single-dollar bill, y'all.
Single dollar
That's
bill.
it. Don't mail it though. Matt does not want you to mail them.
Don't
That
mail
is
your
key.
dollar bills. Don't mail your dollar bills.
And just a reminder, this show also exists in audio-only format on various podcast providers. So if you're watching it right now and you think you'd rather just listen to it, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Overcast, it's on them all.
It's on
Which is really-
Stitcher as of
It's on
today.
Stitcher, which is cool. That's a new one. So we're all new stuff. Pocket Casts. If you don't see us on your podcast provider, feel free to email us. We will definitely get that rectified for you. And also, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please feel free to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us so much at getting up there in the algorithm. And these sweaty nerds over here appreciate it. So that would be lovely. And just something that Rachel mentioned, which I really like, just a nice little tagline here. You know what? If you're listening to this and you like it and you play games, you're probably a Groof. So, join us here at Goodnight Groofs. You're probably a Groof out there, and we love to have you. So thanks so much for listening, and we love y'all.
All right, I gotta go catch a meeting with Mr. Algorithm.
Algorithm. Oh, I hate that. All right. We'll see you all on Monday. Don't forget to listen to Game Grooves on Sunday. And until then, good night, Grooves.